All righty, what is going on, ladies and gents? Welcome back to the channel for another weekly update. Hope everybody's having a lovely weekend, had a lovely week. With that being said, let's dive into the TA. All right, guys, we're going to kick it off with the indices. We'll go over the Mag 7 stocks. We'll go over a few chip stocks. Then I have a few trade ideas at the end of the video. High probability setups into next week. Very likely going to be making these moves. I have over 10 of them at the end of this video just for you. All right, guys. Hot market as of Friday. All right. So things want to push right back up. J-Pal did end up saving the day. He got as dovish as he really could be. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Markets are back up at highs. All right. You have SPY pushing up. QQQ, it's not at highs yet. All right. But you have IWM absolutely exploding on Friday. You had DIA pushing up to new all-time highs. We knew that one was coming. You know, things are very likely going to be continuing to start off the week. We have NVDA earnings on Wednesday after the close into Thursday. I'm going to talk about in this video why I think that could be a bearish catalyst for the market. We could continue pumping into that event, and then we could pull back. I do think that dip would be bought, but I do think it would take a few weeks to run back up. So we're going to talk about that. Patience. All right, let's dive into it, okay? All right, so SPY's daily time frame, guys. Friday's candle shot right up to all-time highs. We swept the highs. We closed right underneath them. Very likely going to continue pushing to start off the week. All right, on the weekly chart, we completely flipped this candle around. All right, you end up chugging back up the highs, and I'm just going to remind everyone, guys, the weekly RSI is going to get overbought at some point. I don't know exactly when that's going to be, but people that are getting prematurely very bearish, just realize we got the correction out of the way. I also just want to point this out at the very beginning of the video. Ever since this period over here, you have not taken out a weekly low up until right over here, our Trump manufactured crash over here, our little tariff flash crash we had over here that wasn't so flashy. It kind of was this slow, violent move down here we had for, 2 whole months, okay? We got the major correction out of the way. The weekly RSI hit oversold territory. That is what literally marked your bottom going on over here in your 2022 bear market. That is what marked your bottom in the 2020 COVID crash over here. That is what marked your bottom on this 2018 crash you had over here. Most of the time when you get down there, a bottom is to be had unless you have, a massive actual market crash going on, the 08 crash, or you come over here .com. Okay, and regardless, when you got down there, you had massive rips. You did not get back up to highs. This, we just made it back up to highs. It's not like this. Okay, so I just want everyone to get that bearish bias completely out of your head. Okay, I understand things are scary, but at the end of the day, that is the trend there on the weekly and the monthly time frame. The higher time frame trend is up, and until we have a weekly low being taken out, like you did over here, you took out that low. Guess what? You're going to continue looking for tips to be bought here in the short term. And then, once that happens, if we were to take out this low over here, that very well could have happened. QQQ, it was getting very close to it over here, taking out its last weekly low, and it didn't. Okay, it didn't end up doing that. If we did, we would have probably just came back to all-time highs, previous all-time highs, and found buyers around there, tested the weekly 21. But we didn't. Okay, we didn't. But that would have been, the larger correction over there, and then we would have seen the daily RSI get oversold. That didn't happen. We're pushing back up to all-time highs, guys. I know QQ is nowhere close to them like SPY is, but it is likely going to follow suit. We did see what IWM just did. IWM, guys, all-time highs incoming above 235.63. We're going to 244.46. You don't really have anything in between here. You just kind of start falling off your cliff. Okay, so you get above that weekly high right there. Yeah, you probably do end up going straight up. Congrats if anybody ended up catching this move. We did definitely identify coming into this event. We had Jackson Hole, all right, on Thursday. At the end of the day, we didn't know where it was going to be going, but we did know if it provided us with a dip, we knew it would very likely be bought, and we didn't think DIA was going to be coming back down to 433.20. And yeah, a bunch of things. We're at their daily 21 EMAs. IWM over here consolidating a bull flag against this 21 EMA, not the most bearish thing coming into it. And, SPY over here, it did hold its 21 EMA 2 days in a row. It's looking pretty slippery here, but you didn't violate this low, and you end up gapping up to that day's high, and then you just ran right out the gate there. Big-ass move right out the gate, 1% over here in, just about 10 minutes there. Is that much. Honestly, if we could take it back down here when we had our freaking 10% move in like the span of half an hour, this is chump change. Okay, but yeah, guys, you know, we're going to keep going up the highs. I do think potentially going to pull back off of NVIDIA earnings. I'm going to go over after we go over the levels here on SPY and QQ, we'll go over that. All right, but before we go over the levels on SPY and QQ, I just want to come over here to VIX, guys. VIX did not end up getting above 1785. It was looking like it could have went either way. It was honestly, it was leaning towards it was going to be spiking over here. We ended up we marked that in Thursday's video as our blue level there. If we took out 1785, we very likely were going to be coming back above 20. We did not. Okay, we did not. We straight faded, and the market straight up, SPY just pumped right back to all-time highs. I don't think there's anything to be bearish on for the time being. Maybe we do get that correction I'm talking about with NVIDIA earnings there, but I do think we will push higher into that event, and then I do think that pullback gets bought whenever it comes. But yeah, VIX crushed back down to lows. Nasty daily candle there, right there. I don't think it's just immediately going to get bought up. We should at least see that continue lower for another session. It can, you know, just start getting bought right back up, but 4-hour RSI is not oversold yet. We don't have the divergences building out here on the hourly time frame. And yeah, I just wouldn't be surprised to see that thing continue coming down. It looks pretty rough there, pretty rough. And again, SPY is looking like this coming into the week. We know this is very likely going to push, and any pullback that happens, it consolidates and then it pushes up. We don't know exactly how it's going to go, but we do know higher prices incoming. We have a lot of explosive charts to talk about in today's video. Very hot market next week. I think there is a lot of easy 100 to 200% gainers to be had over here. I'm going to go over some of those trades at the end or trade ideas at the end of the video there, and I will give some corresponding contracts that can get those 100 to 200% gains for you this week. All right, but yeah, guys, SPY above 640, 619 current all. Well, I mean, now we made a new all-time high, but above 640, 619, we're talking 648 and then 650. Above there, 655. On the downside, we watch 644.11, 642.18, 639, 66. We start getting under 639, 66. Not the best look. Okay, there's that. Coming over here to QQQ, didn't close out as strong as SPY, but we are very likely going to stay in consolidation here, or we're just going to push back up the highs. It's going to follow SPY. On the upside, we have 572.11, 574.63, 577.77, 583.32. Above there, we're talking 585, 588. 590. I think 600 might be coming on this push with what it's doing, guys. You know, we had this grindy move up, had a correction, all right, made slight new highs, had another correction, and all of a sudden it's getting bought back up. We probably are going to get a bit more than what we just got over here on this next move. That was an we'll call it an 8-point move. All right, but that brings you, if we get that same 8-point move, that brings you up to like 591, 592. And then on the downside, we have 568.45, and then Friday's low at 563.27. You take that out, everything we're talking about, it kind of goes out the window. We're probably going to be come back down, taking out 558.84. There's that. All right, but again, you know, probability suggests, yeah, everything is probably going to just keep going up. That is what we're looking at to start off the week, at least. I don't know what happens off NVIDIA, but we'll talk about that. All right, that's SPY and QQ. Like I said over here on IWM, guys, massive move here on Friday. The thing went up 4%. Quite a freaking move over here. Above 235.63, you don't really have anything until you come all the way up here. All-time highs. You know, actually, we have new all-time highs. All right here. But since we rejected here, okay, we tested and rejected it, and now we're coming back into it. When you have this massive cup, you have an actual handle that it came down quite a bit there. Big ass recovery over here on small caps. But yeah, I imagine you're going to break that level this time. I think you break through 245, and you're probably going to see 250, 260 come quick here on IWM. And that is a move that can take time to happen here, but yeah, with what's going on, I do assume we're probably just going to continue this push for the time being. Maybe we continue again into Wednesday. I don't know. All right, so that's IWM, and DIA just popped up to new all-time highs. Expect that to continue. Had very heavy volume, the heaviest you've seen since the low over here come into DIA. I do think we're going to continue for a bit here. Fresh all-time high breakout. Expect that to continue. We're grinding higher into all-time highs. All right, those are the indices. We're going to go over the Mag 7 stocks. We're going to kick it off here on NVIDIA. Okay, don't mind anything I got marked out over there. All right, I'm gonna come over the daily time frame. Doesn't look all that bad, right? Doesn't look all that bad. 4 hour doesn't look all that bad. We can continue pushing in the short term into earnings. But what I will point out is if we just mark this out, you know, let's just take that off, take that off, take that off, take that off. There we go. There we go. There we go. All right. So weekly RSI, it's now coming back from overbought territory underneath the 70 line right there. That is something that usually leads to a couple more weeks of pullback right there, or at least more than what we just got. This time can be different, but I do just want to point out, yeah, when you start, you know, getting overbought and then you come back underneath the 70 line, it leads to consolidation or a further pullback. That is just typically what we have seen. You come over here. All right, does that weekly candle look like what we have right now? No, it doesn't. This time can be different, but I think it's more likely going to lead to a larger correction here. We stay consolidating for a few weeks, and then in a few weeks we push back up. That's what, you know, my bias is saying over here on NVIDIA into earnings. They can pump it up. We did see with the other Mag 7 stocks, you know, those earnings calls. Yeah, you know, there's plenty of AI spending still going on. We are starting to see, you know, AI revenue, it's supporting. Okay, it's not crazy, but, you know, it's coming in, but the spending, that is the most important part. And that is still very much so there. We are going through this time right now where, AI is being referred to as a bubble again. There we go, by, you know, people big in the space there. You know, that's something to think about. But as far as the charts are concerned, I'm just pointing out, anytime you have overbought and you come back underneath the 70 line, all right, you do have more of a pullback. More than at least what we just had there. So caution is warranted. I wouldn't be taking any bets. I know this thing looks like it wants to skyrocket, but yeah, I'm just saying that's my warning right there. There you go. All right, on the upside, 178.04, 179.46, 182.94, 184.48. Downside, 174.25. Tesla. All right, top watch this week. Oh, look at that. That's beautiful. Popped right up. I just wanted to take the time to point out that you had an absolute shit ton of flow coming into coming into Tesla calls here. Most of these were for 912 350 strike. You had over $20 million come over here on Friday into those 912 350s. I just want to say I think Tesla is about to explode. I don't know if there's a catalyst right around the corner, but I will definitely tell you the chart is starting to heat up. And I told you guys I have full intention and incentive here not to get faked out by Tesla, but I want to play this move. I'll tell you guys when it's starting to move. I think it's starting to move. All we got to do is break above 348.98 this week, and I think 367.71 comes quick. And I do think within 2 weeks we're at like 400 to 420. If this is going to be like its previous impulsive moves, which we have such tight consolidation at this point. This is a 94 point little range we built out here, this little pennant that we're now breaking out from. You know, this is going to bring a massive move. If it is going to be like these other ones, we're talking 80 plus points in 2 weeks. Okay. That's what I'm thinking is possible here. I think we are probably going to get a massive move. And I do think we hit 400 over the next 2 weeks. And a little idea for you guys, 95360C. When I gave it to the Discord there, you know, that's a potential 5x. And if we do end up getting up to 400, I think that is a 10x. I don't remember the numbers there, but they were going for $400 a contract when I saw it, the 95360s. If we do just get that 20-point move there, all right, they're going to get paid. But yeah, 919, 360C, 380C, 400C, I do think those are going to pay. Regardless, all right, whatever your vehicle is here, however you want to play this stock here, I do think Tesla is starting to heat up here, and I do think this week it has potential to be one of these big weeks. The condition to watch for, guys, the condition that told me the second we took this out over here, just stay patient. You're not looking to buy the dip too early because it's going to be in consolidation, very likely. All right, what was that condition? You took out the previous day's low. All right, notice this whole move, you didn't take out the previous day's low. Well, you took out the previous day's low there. All right, and on most of these moves here, you don't do that. And once you do start doing that, that's when you are in consolidation mode, and you might as well just wait. You're not in that impulsive move here. All of these moves follow these, at least in the, you know, the recent term futures, recent term history here. that is what happens, okay? You had this vertical move. Guess what? This day you took out the low. It marked consolidation. Yes, you went back up, but it marked consolidation for 2 to 3 weeks. So just realize that is a condition you're paying attention to. I do think for the next 1 to 2 weeks, we're probably not going to be taking out those daily lows, the previous day's low, because we're starting to impulsive move. But yeah, definitely want to keep it on your radar over here on Tesla. Amazon, guys, all-time highs incoming. You know, over here coming into the event, it didn't make sense. You know, these are the things I gave you guys in Thursday's video. I'm never going to tell you exactly what's going to happen here. I will just show you guys the probabilities. I'll show you guys what is going on. And then, yeah, all right, we come to a big picture point of view with that, okay? And over here on Amazon and Google specifically, it just didn't make sense that they were going to really be pulling back here. Google was sitting right underneath all-time highs, and Amazon is the fact that you got bought up this aggressively off the week of 21. It just didn't make sense to come back down and take out that low unless you're going to have another corrective period, which just wasn't likely after we just had that. And that correction just got bought up so quick. So yeah, all-time highs likely incoming. We have a monster daily candle here on Friday that printed above 230. We're talking 234.08, 236.53, and then 242.52. A dip down to 226.22. That's going to be your support. Likely gets bought underneath there. Don't be so bullish in the short term, but as long as you're above there, you're above the daily 21 EMA, this thing is probably going to keep trekking higher here. All right, Meta. Break and retest off previous all-time highs. All right. You have a weekly hammer over here. It's a red weekly hammer. I'm not sure if it's going to turn into something like that. I'm not sure if you're going to be, you know, fading here, but I'll tell you, if the rest of the market is going to be pushing this week, at least to start off the week, there is a chance that Meta starts seeing that vertical move into Wednesday. So let's see if we get it. Get above 758.41. What you really need to do is get above 775. You could take out 775. You're back above this week's high right there. You're probably going to push straight back up to all-time highs at 796.25. All right, that is what you're watching over here on Meta. Google, all-time highs hit on Friday, guys. They did what made the most sense. It's most of the time, that's what the market will do. It's going to do what makes the most sense. It's going to do that most probable scenario. It's the vast majority of the time. We talk about it every single week here on this channel. 5 days a week. I got your back. You need help with the market? You just come and come watch these videos and try and make them as quick as possible. But yeah, we go over some good quality stuff, and it's really a one-stop shop for all you need to do to make your consistent money in the market and to really know what's moving. All right, Google, I think you are going to probably get up to 212 to 215 this week. Above 208.70, we're talking 210, 212, 215. Above there, 220. I don't know if you're going to continue all that much here. I think it's probably going to be something like this. Maybe we started with the impulsive move. All right. Maybe we do get, 215 early on here. I'm not really sure. But I with the daily RSI doing what it's doing, it has that bearish divergence. I imagine it's going to be something choppy like this. Now that we're just getting up here, this thing has been trending better than most of the other Mag 7 stocks there. And the video hasn't been so bad. So maybe this thing, once it hits the new highs, maybe we do get some consolidation, considering the daily RSI looks like this. So we do have a triple bearish divergence going on right here. So we'll see what happens, but I am looking for further highs this week. Apple, all right, I am still looking for it to go something like this, all right? So when we were sitting up here, I had this arrow on the chart, all right? And this is still pretty similar to what I am thinking is going to be going down. I do think this dip is going to be bought. I do think you're going to be taking out 237.23 and you're going to start pushing towards 250. But I do think it's going to take a little bit of time. We might still consolidate for this upcoming week. I am anticipating you get a move back above 231 to start off the week. And then I don't know if you break 235.12, and I think we do that consolidation there. But one thing's for sure, we are looking for this dip to be bought, this consolidation. We're looking for that to be bought up. We're looking for it to have a breakout. All right, and then that brings your next move. And then we see 240 plus, and above there 250. And above 250, you probably go straight to 260 within like 1 to 2 weeks. So that's Apple, guys. Microsoft, still the one Mag 7 stock that I would say is just worth leaving alone. That's that. It's underneath the daily 21 EMA. You really just got to get back about 518.29. That's the first step for the bulls. This is what I'll leave Microsoft at, okay? Now we're just going to review the Mag 7 ETF here, MAGS, M-A-G-S. And coming into Friday, guys, I I don't think there were many people, you know, just pointing to all of the bullish factors on the chart. Well, guess what? Call me a perma-bulk. I don't give a shit at this point. I really don't. Guess what? Anybody who has been going against me for months and months, guess what? You've gotten wrecked over and over again. I may be wrong in the short term sometimes, but I'll tell you. All right, I got that big picture point of view. I got on lock. But yeah, you know, when we were sitting up here, we actually said we can pull back. People like seem to forget these things. Okay, they seem to forget. Henry calls for downside as well as upside. When we were sitting up here, we had we had some concerns here, and if we did pull back, we were saying it's probably just going to be just like this previous time where you got bought up and then we just consolidate. All right. And we still can just consolidate for the next 1 to 2 weeks if it's going to be like that. We don't know. And then you have the big impulsive push. We don't know. Or you're just going to continue pushing. We don't know. But you did hold the break and retest. That's what I want to point out here. And if you can take out 60.96, yeah, you have another breakout move on your hand. And maybe we have this impulsive move loading here over the coming weeks. On the Mag 7 stocks, I think Tesla is going to be leading the way with the impulsive move that starts. It started on Friday. I think it's starting. It's technically starting this next week, week 1 of 2. That's the MAGS ETF. All right. Now, I will go over AMD because people want to keep asking for AMD, and I'm not going over it because you're asked for AMD. I just think, yeah, at this point, it is probably going to stay in this consolidation / start pushing back up. If you can get above 174, that's when I think it's going to start just pushing back up the highs. There is nothing to really talk about on this chart. Okay. I wanted to let you guys know that. Please stop just sitting there spamming my chat, my comments with, go over this ticker, go over this ticker. You know who you are for AMD over here. And I'm telling you for a fact, every single person who does that, I block them from being able to comment on my channel. So just realize that is what you're doing. I share what I share in my content, all right, because this is what's hot right now. This is what's moving in the market. I have no incentive on putting things on people's radar that's not moving, that they might be losing money on when it's not moving. They're like, oh, it's in Henry's video. Oh, he thinks it's hot again. No, that's why I don't put everything in the video, okay? So just realize if you are one of those people who continuously do that, you can come trade with me in the Discord. Guess what? I'll review your ticker every single day. You just got to ask me. Okay, but you're not going to sit there flooding my comment section with, you know, just you don't even leave likes on the videos. Most of the people who freaking do that. Okay, so let's be real about it. You're not even supporting. No, there's not a chance I'm going to take a look at your stock. And it's not even that. It's that I know there are like 2,000 plus regular viewers here on this channel. Consistent, like the same people come back here, and guess what? I know action is taken off of what I go over in these videos, and I'm not going to have people thinking that these stocks that aren't moving, that are consolidating, that are going to chop people up. No, Henry does not think they're hot and people should be focused on. So that's why I haven't been talking about AMD. I talked about AMD right here off the 21 EMA. I talked about it over here when it was setting up for the breakout. I talked about it on the pullback over here. I don't need to talk about something if it's not setting up. Okay, so I'm not saying that to be rude. Just understand that is how this channel, how I derive my content. Okay, it's what's moving right now, and I want people to focus on the things that are going to be moving so they can make money and not sit there getting frustrated at your boy Henry over here. Okay, so again, not saying any of it to be rude, but just realize that is how it is. That is how I construct my content here, and I will not let it be bogged down by stuff that just doesn't look like it's going to be moving. It's going to be a hot mess. All right, same thing over here on AVGO. All right, TSM, I did talk about a chip stock. I gave you guys a trade idea. I called it a no-brainer over here. It's looking a bit hairy at first after we had this daily candle. All right, but guess what? On Friday, you didn't end up pushing up, and there still is the chance that you can get 240 plus by Monday if this thing wants to have a crazy move. But that's the stat I gave you guys over here. 4-hour RSI last 3 times, and up in here, and here. You end up having an 8% move within 3 sessions. 3 sessions would be my Monday, okay? So I'll give you guys chip stocks. Just realize if there's no setup, I ain't going to talk about them. I talk about the SPY, QQQ, indices, and the Mag 7 stocks. Those are hands down, no matter what. I don't care how they're looking. They'll be in my videos, okay? At the end of the video, if your stock don't make it into the trade ideas, all right, you can put it on my radar. But, the people who ask these things, it's not like, oh, Henry, you should take a look at this. No, it's like, look at my ticker, look at my ticker, look at my ticker. And that's rude, okay? So just understand that's how I look at that. It is rude, okay? Moving on, all right? Trade ideas coming into the week, guys. I got some hot ones for you. All right. And I'm just going to say Tesla. All right. Tesla's one right here. that I think should be on everyone's radar, and I think it's going to be a big squeeze or big ripper over the coming 2 weeks. I already talked about it, gave my thoughts on it, but this is definitely one that you should be paying attention to. I think it is just starting to move, and the whales are agreeing with me. All right, TEM, congrats, your freaking lations, okay? I told you guys coming into Friday, we had a potential 5 to 10x on our hands over here if we can get above 78.99. Congrats to anybody. Oh, there we go. A little delayed reaction right there. Congrats to anybody who ended up taking TM with me. All right, it was a nice little win right there on the day. And if you did hold for the highs there, you did see, you know, right there, I was in the, what do we have? The 78C. We had 78C weeklies, 80C for next Friday. And the 78C guys at the high, you know, we picked them up around $1. The high, they went to 700 something bucks. There's your 7x on the day. Congratulations if you made money off TM. But guess what, guys? This is still top watch. Why? You just got a week close above 77. I gave it to you guys right over here, right when you had this day right over there coming into the week. I know you fell flat on your face, but you went right back up, and I gave it to you right here as well. So I put it on your radar here. I told you it was moving right here. And all of a sudden, we're up here at 85 bucks. I do think we are coming above 91.45. Just realize every single one of these weekly candles, all right, not every single one of them, but the vast majority of them have a pullback, whether that be in the form of a gap down to start the week, or they have that lower wick action going on there, which can be for like 3 to 4 points right here. Okay, so just realize we can pull back to start the week, and I do think it's going to provide a buying opportunity for that move. Specifically, all right, I got the daily RSI marked out. You got overbought, you pulled back, and you're not pushing back into overbought territory. The only time we've seen that happen throughout TM's history here is right here, okay? And you got this candle right here. You had that big upper wick going on right there, okay? You had that big pump. You sold it. I actually remember this, okay? I remember this exact thing because I remember seeing myself up so much, and then boom, it came back down the day after. I remember that bad boy. Well, I think this week can go similar to that. You just had that upper wick, that large upper wick. You gave back a lot of Friday's move there, about 5 points there. I think if we start the week with a gap down, I think it's probably going to get bought up immediately, and then we will continue this move. I think we have the chance for another big week here. You definitely have the setup over here, full of compression. You're now starting to see that expansion, heavy volume. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 green trending candlesticks, and I will just say we have a setup for a massive move here. I think the move is going to be larger than what we got over here, but over here you had the 3 trending candlesticks. Guess what? Or the 4 trending candlesticks right here. Guess what? We only have 3. I do think we are probably getting above 91.45 this week, so I'm watching on the dip there. And yeah, I think we are probably going to start the week off with either that pullback there to put in the lower wick, or we just get a gap down, and I think that probably gets bought. All right, so that's TM, second top watch there, but Tesla is number 1. D-King, all right, I talked about this one when we were sitting down here, okay, and now it's starting to break out. We haven't technically broken out yet. 47.40 is that level, but I do think we're probably going to get a decent sized move up to 49.57 this week, and that is something you can take advantage of. I don't know if we're going to push straight back up to this high here at 53.61, but I have to assume that is where this wants to go with what it's doing right now. Okay, this is tight consolidation that's been going on here. You're now starting to break above that. It, clear as day, this thing wants to yeah, it wants to get at least another 2 to 3 points this week. I assume we test at least 50 bucks. So it's one to put on your radar. It's definitely looking like it wants to make the move. All right, APP. All right, APP over here, guys. We did end up having quite the day here on Friday. All right, and this is one I think is going to make its way back up to 473.70 potentially by this week. If you see a dip, it's very likely going to get bought. If we can just take out Friday's high, get above there, next stop is 473.70. You really don't have anything. The real level here is 444, and above there you don't have anything till 473.70. So I do think you might just continue this vertical action here. Maybe it slowly builds its way up. Maybe you don't have another impulsive move here. We had a 5% day on Friday, but I do think it is very likely going to continue. We've printed a bullish candlestick off the break and retest. We've now consolidated here for 2 weeks in a row. I think it's getting ready for that continuation style move, and above 473.70 we're talking 500 and 525.15. This is now going to be round 3 of APP. All right. And I personally started getting on Friday. Well, I'm just in on Friday. Not going to be adding anymore. And I am looking for that move above 473.70 this week. Dips are expected to be bought. That's APP. SOFI made its way back up to highs, guys, and above 25.11. We don't have anything until all-time highs at 28.26. Okay. This right here is where you were rejecting. Okay. So we'll just get rid of that second level right there at 24.95. This is where you were rejecting. You actually saw a weekly close above that level right here. There is nothing above these equal highs here until here. You rejected them. You pulled back, reverted to the mean. Okay, daily 21 EMA a few times there, and you compressed, and now you are starting to expand. You have increasing volume on the day on Friday. I do think we are probably going to see 26 to 27 come early on in the week. And then I will not be surprised if we hit 28, 26. But yeah, it looks like a monster over here on SOFI. ETHA, all right. I gave this one to you guys coming into the week over here. All right. Guess what? You did end up finding buyers right off of 31.18 there, and you had quite the freaking day on Friday. All right. Ethereum, guys, I know you're rejecting so far. Okay. You're finding sellers. This is the second day you're finding sellers right here. I do think this thing is getting ready to break current all-time highs, and I do think this goes up to 5K. ETHA, 37 is that first target. We just missed it here on Friday. All right, you got a high day right there at 36.80. Okay, so you just missed that. That's 37. That's Ethereum's all-time highs there. And then if we do break that, I do assume we are coming up to 40. I do think 40 to 45 will be reached on this push here on ETHA. And if that is going to be the case, guys, here's your squeeze play for next week. Okay, so BMNR, heavy volume on Friday coming back into the mix. Just realize this is your first big day. This was your first big day. You had a whole bunch of crap up until then, and boom, all at once, you started the fire, and you continued having these trending days. I think this is probably going to be a similar scenario. If we see further movement, upside come Monday, probably going to be continuing through, maybe not the rest of the week there, but probably into Wednesday or Thursday. I do think we have a solid shot if Ethereum wants to push over the weekend. If we see 5K plus, I think this thing might just squeeze back up to 71.74. All right, and at that point, the 829.60C, they will go 4X. Either way, this is one to put on your radar for the week if you want to play ETHA or Ethereum. Want to play that move. This is something that will be moving with that. Okay, open. This is the only real thing I was confident into Friday. Saying this is the one setting up. Doesn't matter what the market's going to be doing. This is the one that looked like it was going to be getting a move. It definitely blew my expectations away there, and now I think it might break 541. Above 541, this thing goes a little crazy, and you don't have anything until 13 bucks. I can pull out some minor resistance levels here for you guys, but really, guys, I'm serious. You don't have much. Okay, right there. So above 541, you have 639, 808, 1005, 1344. That's where you broke down from over here. And actually, we're going to take away that level, and we'll just do your low right there. Okay, it's 1055. All right, but either way, open. Probably going to continue pumping, and yeah, pullbacks likely get bought. Maybe you consolidate in this area, and you have this. Maybe you put in a little handle to that cup. We don't know, but open. A-Lab, guys. I'm thinking A-Lab probably heads back up to all-time highs next week. All right, when this thing likes the trend, you get your red candlesticks. You take out those highs the previous week, or not the previous week, the following week. I think that's probably going to be the case over here. This is one with strength. It was pulling back to the mean over here, back to 21 EMA, above 187.18. We have 199.47, and yeah, there you go. A-Lab. Rocket Lab starting to heat up, guys. Printing the hammer candlestick the other day, and you had a big move here on Friday that completely flipped this weekly candlestick. I do think we're just in consolidation before this move back to all-time highs. I think that's probably where this thing is headed now. Above 47.72, that's your range high over here. Okay, you break above 47.72, we have 49.92, and then 53.44. From there, 55, and then 60 bucks. That's Rocket Lab. All right, another one in that theme is one that I have kept on your radar, and I pointed out over here. I know things look scary, guys, but I did point out daily 21 hammer candlestick right off of the daily 21 there. All right, and all of a sudden we're back up to 1979. All right, now we have this big cup. We have our handle, this 1979 level. It's likely going to break this week, and I think we do get above 2138. So congrats if you're here with this move with me. I do think we're going to see 2138 this week, and then I imagine we get a bit higher here. I think 2223 comes in the short term. All right, that's RKT. Next one, we're talking Uber. All right, Uber over here, guys. I think it's going to break all-time highs this week, 97.72. Either this will consolidate this week and then push the following week, or it just continues pushing this week. And I think we get above 100 in the short term, but I think 110 is incoming. That's Uber. Monster weekly base here. Monster base above the freaking base. Yeah, this thing's about to explode, and that's that. That's Uber. GS is another one that, you know, just looks like it is going to be heading up to highs. All right, above 748.91. This thing probably does go at least 5 to 10 points above there. It's one to keep on your radar for the short term. Okay, above 748.91, target 760 in the short term. That is GS. XYZ. All right, XYZ. This is one that I think this thing is probably gonna start having these trending candlesticks again. I think it's probably about to break out of this consolidation with what happened on Friday. Big consolidation here above 80.20, guys. All right, 84.25 is that next stop. You know, regardless of the levels, you know, we'll just take that out. Actually, we'll take that off. Mark that out. Mark that out. Okay, above 82.50, this starts its move up to $85, and then I think we're probably going to get 90 plus in the short term. This consolidation is about 10 points, so break above the consolidation, and yeah, measured move brings you up above $90. But definitely one that is starting to turn around here. I know we've been consolidating for a while, but bulls are stepping in this week, and I think we're about to see this thing continue. That is XYZ. All right, last one I have for you guys today. Actually, I got 2 more for you guys today. I got 3 more for you guys today. I know, crazy stuff here. Iron, you know, I've been talking about Iron, HUT, Cypher. These were the ones showing the strength, specifically Cypher and Iron coming into Friday. These were the only ones holding up really well. I do think Cypher is going to be continuing, but that is not the one I'd be focusing on. I think Iron is about to have a big move. I think you do have earnings right around the corner, but I think it's probably going to continue pushing into earnings here. And there's a chance to see 25 plus come this week. This thing has a massive base above your big base. Okay, break and retest off it for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weekly candlesticks there. That's about 2 months, guys, and we're about to break up. So I do think 25 plus is probably on the table here this week. 24 to 25, I'd say, on Iron. And there's that. Oscar is one that just started to turn around, guys. Big day on Friday. I do think this is one to put on your radar here over the coming weeks. I think we might start having these impulsive moves again on Oscar. It's had a lot of consolidation here. I know people are going to say, "Oh, Henry, that's a head and shoulders pattern." Yeah, I think it's just been in the range here like it's been for a very long time, and we're probably about to start pushing up to the top of it. So yeah, Oscar, I'm not going to give a specific game plan, but I will point out it's starting to heat up again. And if you can take out 1750 and then get above 1827, then you have nothing until this gap up at 2024. So that is Oscar. All right. Last one I have for you guys is just Reddit over here. You pull back to the daily 21 EMA this week on Wednesday. I will just point out fresh all-time highs. The last time you were at all-time highs trending like that and you kept putting in these red candlesticks, the following week you would take out those highs. If that's going to be the case, then you are going to see at least a 38-point move this week, okay? 40-point move incoming this week likely on Reddit. I know it looks a little iffy here on the daily time frame, but that is how that has gone in the past. That is how that's probably going to go moving forward. But, you know, I did give you guys the better ones. I'm going to just go over it, make everything real crystal clear for you guys right here, right now. These are the top watch for the week. These are what, if you want some clean moves to catch, these are what you're going to be watching, okay? TM, we're watching for that dip buy early on in the week, okay? I don't know if it's going to, you know, open somewhere, come down 3 to 4 points, create that lower wick, or if it just gaps down. If it gaps down, I do think it'll be bought. So that's TM. Top watch here, Tesla. I do think Tesla is going to, it's going to start a ripperoonie, okay? D-King. D King looks like a no-brainer here. Weekly and daily time frame, big base, about to break up from said base. Weekly RSI not overbought yet. I think it's probably going to get overbought on this move, and we have 2 to 3 weeks of big moves, and maybe we do get above 53.61 on this move. Regardless, it's definitely got the setup for, okay? So D King. APP, all right, clear as day. Buyers want to send this higher. You started pushing above 244 on Friday. Above there, you don't have anything till 473.70, and I do think it's only a matter of time until we get all-time highs. I like 919 calls here, and that's what I'm trading. So that's APP. SOFI, all right, above 25 bucks, above 24.95. That's their key level right there. Those are your equal highs. You have nothing until all-time highs. I do think we at least get 26, 27 in the short term. If not, we push straight up to 28, 26, which is what, 15% move? 13% move. Okay. Throwback to when SoFi was under 10 bucks. There you go. All right. And then ETHA and BMNR. These are the ones, the higher risk ones, I'll say right here. ETHA, you know, I'm already in this guy. I didn't put too much into this, but we are up about 80% right now. I do think this thing is just one that's going to continue trucking along. And then BMNR, this is the one to focus on the short term. It's probably going to play some catch up there if Ethereum gets above 5K. I think this thing is probably going to play some catch up. We're gonna get back up to 70 plus here, and that's a big winner here waiting to happen. All right, but that is BMNR. Those are the obvious ones to me, guys. Those are really them right there. I mean, I know IREN looks really good. Uber is another obvious one, but I think you might have to, you know, short-term movements a little iffy here always on Uber. But I do think once it starts going, within a few weeks, we will see 110. And I do think it starts going next week. I don't know if it's going to be consolidation or if it's just another trending candlestick. Not really sure, but I am looking for 100 plus in the short term. And then 110 is that target for this run. And that's Uber. All right. That's what I have for you guys today. If you guys enjoyed today's video, please just remember to leave a like. That's all I ask. If you want to come trade with me, that link is down below. You guys can use code TEM, that is TEM, for 50% off, okay? But yeah, I'm live every day. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. We went over a lot of hot stocks going into next week. You guys have a lot of movement to, you know, keep your eyes on there. We just went over the top watches of the week, all right? Just, you know, go back a little bit. If you forgot about them already, write them down, put them on your radar there, add them to a watch list. That's all you're going to need here to have a good week. Okay, yes, things will change. We don't know what's going to happen off NVIDIA earnings. We really don't, but I did share my thesis around that. Yes, we can pump off that, but I think it's more likely that we are going to either consolidate or they end up pulling you back here, and it's going to create a dip buy opportunity over the next 1 to 2 weeks for us. And I do think it gets bought up pretty quick if we see that. But that could pull the market back. So maybe we have a little pump and dump action going on this week, and it ends the week with some consolidation, like, you know, the week of candles of doji or something like that, or we have an upper wick. Not really sure, but that's what I'm looking for going into the week. I hope you guys kill it this week, and I will catch you all in the next one. Peace.